You should be working today, not taking off for a CRT-inspired federal holiday that competes with July 4th. And what is the low self-esteem for July 4th? You know, I didn't know July 4th was down that bad. I think July 4th is doing a lot better than you give July 4th credit for. What? Because you feel lonely because nobody can keep the beat at your barbecue? Is that what it is? We had a whole July 4th celebration and not one wobble or electric slide. The seasoning has seeped out of July 4th and now it's just bland. People walk by the barbecue and don't smell nothing. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. I am Reese Waters and this is Racist of the Week, where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. While we're on the topic of stupidity, you might be wondering why my forehead looks like the wallpaper in a vacant house. Why I'm out here looking like a caterpillar stepping into adulthood. That's because I grew up in a house without sunscreen. Only to find out, once I became an adult, that sunscreen is rated E for everybody. So that's my lesson to y'all for this Juneteenth. Sunscreen. It's not just for them. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And of course, if you have any nominees, you can throw them in the comments. You can email me at admin@reesewaters.com. Today's nominee, America.
I don't feel like I should be blamed for something that my ancestors did to your ancestors.
Now, I'd like to start off by wishing you all a happy Juneteenth. And no, those were not AI. Those were real photos. But this is AI. Juneteenth is all about white people sending happy Juneteenth messages with their dogs dressed up. And I love this. I did not mention anything to AI about the watermelon or dashiki, but here we are. AI is on code. Yeah, AI is definitely on right down to the chain. I think that's the same chain that the Georgetown Hoya had on his neck. I think that's the same chain. It's game worn. Now, I, like a lot of you, get asked a lot of questions around Juneteenth time, and I thought that this was extremely instructive and can be helpful to a lot of you. Juneteenth is coming up on June 19th, and lots of people want to know what's the best thing to watch to commemorate this special day. The answer is your mouth. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Because if not, you might be getting a very special gift. These hands. And especially if you are one of those people who has off for Juneteenth, because not everybody is in favor. White people getting off for Juneteenth doesn't sit right with me. Me side-eyeing all the white people at work that took PTO the day after Juneteenth, which is a company holiday. Now, I realize the virtues of keeping it low are lost on our society. But I can't imagine being a white person getting off on Juneteenth and not just staying in my home. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You can make content out. You don't even have to post it. You don't even have to post it. You can make content for later. You can make content like catch up on a good book. You know, you could binge something on Netflix. You know what I mean? Just keep it. You know what I mean? Just keep it low. It's like when the teacher comes in and you know you were the one that was responsible for turning over the desk and she's wilding out trying to figure out what happened. Just, you know what I mean? Just open a book. You know what I mean? Just keep it quiet, keep it casual. Y'all doing PTO the day after Juneteenth, which is only a holiday because of the bondage of my people. That's what we doing? It's no wonder why the people at work be so mad. Logged into the Juneteenth company meeting, first two people to speak are white women. Now, I gotta defend that. I gotta defend that, because if you logged into the Juneteenth meeting and everybody just turned and looked at you as if you were supposed to give a speech beforehand, or forced you to run the meeting on Juneteenth, then you would be mad. You know what I mean? You reading this the wrong way. You're reading this the wrong way. What you should say is, had a meeting conducted on my behalf in honor of Juneteenth. Why is the Juneteenth celebration being organized by 2 Africans and a bunch of white people? Were there enough to fill out the organizing committee? Were there enough of us to, you know? I mean, I would say the same thing I said earlier. You know what I mean? If they said, hey, we want to have a Juneteenth event, Rodney and James in charge of it, you know what I mean? That wouldn't be right. That wouldn't be right. As far as I'm concerned, Rodney and James should be able to step off. They should be able to have the event organized for them. You know, that would be appropriate. You know, that would be some small semblance of reparations. But the willingness to involve and engage with Juneteenth is something that is very unique and a bit much, if I must say so myself. Now, why I just saw someone on TikTok say Black Americans need to stop acting like Juneteenth is a day only for Black Americans. It literally is. Is that, are they trying to take Juneteenth? Is that a thing? What if I say the reason why people think this is because white Americans took over Cinco de Mayo and changed the whole holiday on its head, so now they feel like they can easily turn around and do the same to Black Americans and Juneteenth as well. Now, they did take Cinco de Mayo. They did do that. I remember the one lady I saw with the sombrero and the maracas advocating for mass deportation. Like, they really have taken all of the guts out of Cinco de Mayo, you know, like you do a fish in the summertime, which is something that you might want to do during June. Just go fishing. You know what I mean? Just go fish. We don't need you here with the dashiki and the dog with the chain around his neck. We don't need none of that. But it is the insistence on centering yourselves that brings us here today.
What's happening to the white people? They have a Black Miss America. They have a Black college. They have a Black month. What do we have? And now they have Juneteenth.
Whiteness studies?
What does that mean?
To me, true diversity is diversity of thought, not diversity of color. I don't see color.
Now, are there certain Black people that just don't like us because we're white?
Y'all do realize how silly it sounds to say that I can't get my hair braided, right?
You have 10 seconds to name 4 countries in Africa.
Young white men graduating from college and going into the workplace this year are being told, you know, we'd like to hire you, but we have a quota we have to fill with women and minorities. I'm sorry.
I don't think about being white. I don't.
I really did not know that I had a racial identity.
I would just consider myself white American.
It's just the norm. To be white is the good thing.
It's the default race.
I don't feel like I should be blamed for something that my ancestors did to your ancestors.
So that's what it's like to be white.
Nobody said that you can't get your hair braided. I would just say if you were to get your hair braided, I would stay in a certain part of town. That's all. Why don't you, for Juneteenth, go to a historically Black part of town to get your hair braided in honor of Juneteenth and let them do it like the real authentic way. You know what I mean? I think, and you can make content. I would watch that. I would definitely watch that. I love how the guy who said he never thought about being white answers literally all of the other questions. Literally all of the other questions are, hey, he never even thought about being white. And there you have it, folks. And I would like to end that portion with a comment that I had made before. She talked about a Black Miss America, and she talked about Black colleges. She talked about Juneteenth. White America, that deal is still on the table. Y'all want to trade? I will say y'all want to trade. Y'all can get a white Miss America, huh? White colleges. You get your white entertainment television, huh? And we take over literally all of the things. All of the other, you know, just the government and the banking system. We take over all that. Hey, but you get Juneteenth though. But you get your Juneteenth. Yes. For you. And optional whether you want to participate in July 4th or not. Now, if you take that deal, communication might be an issue because we won't be speaking English no more. So I don't know what, I don't speak Swahili or nothing like that. We're going to be speaking jive like they did in the movie Airplane. Yeah, we're going to be speaking jive. So we're going to have to be some gaps in communication.
Would you tell him to just relax and I'll be back as soon as I can with some medicine?
Just hang loose, blood. She gonna catch up on the rebound on the med side.
What it is, Big Mama? My mama raised no dummies. I duck a rap.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
And what's crazy is while not even considering the possibility of taking that deal, you want to call somebody else snowflakes and victims. While you complain about the Black Miss America. There would be no Juneteenth Day without the declaration made on the 4th of July. We are a nation founded on freedom. Was it that 4th of July? That was forever? It wasn't? Oh, well, that would make sense why they would have a whole, you should include that it wasn't for everybody in the tweet. You had extra characters. That was a choice that you made. If Juneteenth was really about emancipation, why not September 22nd when Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation? Or January 1st when the proclamation took effect? Or December 18th, 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment? Because it's not about emancipation, which is one of America's great moral achievements. It's about creating a summertime race-based competitor 2 weeks before July 4th, which should be the most unifying civic holiday on the calendar. Now, are you inserting yourself in when and how another group celebrates themselves? Is that what's happening? Are you decide? It's when Charlie Kirk decides. Is that? It's when we got to consult with Charlie. We all NAACP come together and SNCC and Nation of Islam and all the black Muslims out of jail. We all have NWA. We all have a conversation. The blackish involved. We all come to an agreement and we send it to Charlie Kirk. And then if Charlie Kirk signs off on it, then we good. You know what I mean? Then is that what we doing? And how about this? I love the examples that you gave. When Lincoln issued the proclamation, when the proclamation took effect, or the ratification of the 13th Amendment, because it's not about emancipation, which is one of America's great moral achievements. So any celebration needs to center your achievement of freeing us. Is that? That's what I read. That's what I read. Because we're going to celebrate whiteness regardless. You know what I mean? That's, you know what I mean? You wrote it. You should be working today, not taking off for a CRT-inspired federal holiday that competes with July 4th. And then today's a good day to remember Christianity is the faith and America is the place that slavery came to die. Well, Maga is the place that Christianity came to die. So I'm sure we can go ahead and update that particular tweet. And what is the low self-esteem for July 4th? You know, I didn't know July 4th was down that bad. I think July 4th is doing a lot better than you give July 4th credit for. What? Because you feel lonely because nobody can keep the beat at your barbecue? Is that what it is? We had a whole July 4th celebration and not one wobble or electric slide. What's the problem? I don't. What is July 4th? I thought it was doing fine. I thought it was doing, the seasoning has seeped out of July 4th and now it's just bland. People walk by the barbecue and don't smell nothing. Is that what's going on? Let's be clear, Juneteenth is not about white education, getting your white friends to get it, or getting white people to simply say black people's names. It's about seeing us and loving us and giving us something meaningful for our freedom. Yes, amen to that. Imagine a holiday about seeing us and loving us, while you talk about how it should center you freeing us. From what? I don't know. But seeing as how it is not our job to educate you, why don't you let one of your own put you on game?
What the hell is Juneteenth, and why do we even bother celebrating it? And to my fellow white people, this one's for you. Now I'm going to drop some knowledge on you really fast, so please try to keep up. Juneteenth was made into a federal holiday by President Biden back in 2021. Now, Juneteenth, or June 19th, is when we now recognize the official end of slavery in the states here in America. It ended in Texas on June 19th, 1865, which about 250,000 enslaved Americans gained their freedom. Now, to be factually correct, Oklahoma still had enslaved Americans, but they were only a territory. And please, please listen to me as I tell you this, because I'm going to point out two very uncomfortable truths here in America. Number one, there was a little over 12 million Africans who were enslaved and shipped over to the New World, and only about 10.5 million of them made it, meaning roughly 1.5 million enslaved Africans lost their lives just on transporting the transport over here to America. And at the time of emancipation, there were almost 4 million enslaved Americans who were given their freedom. So 10.5 million enslaved Americans, 4 million granted their freedom. So that means 6.5 million enslaved men and women were worked to death without compensation, plus the 1.5 million that were lost while being transported over here. Those souls are gone forever. That gives us a total of about 8 million human lives. But do you know how many soldiers, American soldiers, we've lost in all our wars, both combat and non-combat casualties? About 1.5 million. That's over 5 times as many people that lost their lives than we've lost soldiers. This is a serious holiday. And to further prove my point, speaking of holidays, Christmas is the most popular holiday here in America. And we all know Santa Claus, the guy that I look like, reigns supreme. But did you know Santa Claus was created as a marketing campaign by Coca-Cola Bottling Company, yeah, Coke, 125 years ago? Have you ever wondered why Santa's red and white, Coke is red and white, why Santa and Coca-Cola dominate Christmas? We care more about Christmas than trying to fix and repair our past where we enslaved innocent people and just celebrating them getting their freedom. I think that's kind of messed up, and I'll be proud to celebrate Juneteenth tomorrow in Cincinnati at the FC Cincinnati Major League Soccer game. We're having HBCU night, and I'm going to soak in the moment and the importance of what this night means. I'll see you on the road.
Now, hopefully that was helpful, and I just want you to be responsible with the new information that you have gleaned. Don't be out here, ain't no way.
Everybody, let's sing it. Come on. Over here. Wait right there. All right, come on. Yeah, we here to boogie, y'all. Come on, everybody say bug.
I don't know what to say to that. I really, because he had water on him, so he looked like he was intending to stay. It was, you know, and I don't think it was a hate watch. He looked like he was enjoying himself. Maybe he was just trying to take the power away from the MAGA hat. Maybe that's what that was. That was a physical embodiment of us dropping ends on each other. He just trying to take the power back. Y'all be careful out here. If I see a white person at a Juneteenth celebration, I'm gonna point and yell slave catcher loud AF. I think she was at that same party. I think she was at that same party. She saw the MAGA hat and the mustache, you know. Now I get it. Now I get it completely. Now, I, for one, welcome people that try and in earnest try and share love and show love and express solidarity with the black community at this time. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Uh-oh. Here come young black mayor. We'll see if he'll accept that.
The dynamics of slavery in Oklahoma were so unique. Juneteenth doesn't really apply to people from my home state. That's right, the 5 Indian nations, one who enslaved my ancestors, didn't emancipate their slaves until a year after Juneteenth. Let me tell you about it. I'm the young black mayor, your #1 history influencer. Since the 5 civilized tribes are sovereign nations, they made up their own rules on slavery. When they lost the Civil War, fighting alongside the Confederate South, they were made to give up more land and emancipate their slaves, giving them full citizenship. Well, the Creek Nation, the Cherokee Nation, the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nations, and the Seminole Nation didn't come to a full agreement with the United States until the summer of 1866. That's a year after Juneteenth. Some Indian freedmen took it upon themselves to recognize their emancipation, like the African Creeks. This is why the topic of Juneteenth in Oklahoma is so unique, but nobody's saying that. The reason I know and care about this is because I'm a by-blood citizen of the Chickasaw Nation. I'm also a descendant of people formerly enslaved to a Chickasaw master. Her name was Tennessee Bynum. She was half white, half Chickasaw. If you're an American descendant of Indian-owned slaves, or you just want to stay up on your hidden history, go ahead and lock in with me. Truly your #1 history influencer.
Yeah, you're going to have to take that up with him. Yeah, I'm Bennett, I ain't in it. I'm Bennett and I ain't in it. Y'all going to have to work that out amongst yourselves. And I think he's invited to the fireside chat. I think he's invited to the fireside chat, so y'all can have that conversation and just let us know what y'all decide, because I was uncomfortable for everybody. White people being off on Juneteenth is like celebrating Yahtzees on Memorial Day. And you know what? They probably would if they could. This is from just last week, the Pentagon to restore the names of 7 more Army bases that honored Confederate generals. Trump announced, quote, "For a little breaking news, we're going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rutger, Fort Polk, and Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee," Trump told attendees at a Fort Bragg, North Carolina celebration marking the Army's 250th anniversary.
For a little breaking news, we are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. We won a lot of battles out of those forts. It's no time to change. And I'm superstitious, you know, I like to keep it going, right?
The promise fulfills a campaign pledge by Trump, who vowed to revert bases back to their original names after a congressionally mandated commission recommended new titles for 9 military bases in 2022. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth earlier this year ordered the names of 2 bases, Fort Liberty and Fort Moore, reverted back to Fort Bragg and Fort Benning. Now this I love. Hegseth brought back the original names, but said they were being used to honor different individuals and not the Confederate generals they were originally named for. In the case of Fort Bragg, it takes its title after PFC Roland Bragg, a decorated Army paratrooper who served in World War II, rather than Confederate General Braxton Bragg, who lost several costly Civil War battles before leaving the service to run a sugar plantation that used slaves. Now, I actually just recorded a video about the shame. I think I was talking about Latinos for Trump, the Latina for Trump that was trying to defend the white South Africans, where you literally have white people saying, we need more white people, and it's about pushing brown people out. Like the shame of trying to defend something that they even won't defend. Imagine Pete Hegseth trying to float out, oh no, it's a different Bragg. It's a totally different brag than it is. And then Trump come behind him. We need to get these Confederate names back on the base. we need to get these. You named it after a different brag? Well, take him off. No, we want the Confederate brag. You know Pete Hegseth was about to be in his bag. Now, see, Fort Pickett, that's for Wilson Pickett. Yeah, for we gonna name it after Wilson Pickett. And then Fort Gordon, that's for Gordon Ramsay. We got Gordon Ramsay right here. And then Fort Polk, that's for the president, President Polk. Fort A.P. Hill, that's for Sugar Hill Gang. Fort A.P. Hill, that's that right there.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No, boys.
Let's also keep in mind that one of the things that has been very well established here and everywhere is just how deep Trump's understanding, knowledge, and reverence for military history runs.
In June of 1775, the Continental Congress created a unified army out of the revolutionary forces encamped around Boston and New York, and named after the great George Washington, Commander-in-Chief. The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the waters of the Delaware, and seized victory from Cornwallis of Yorktown. Our army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. And at Fort McHenry, under the rocket's red glare.
So we know that he has no idea what war was over slavery, what war was against England. He doesn't know when the French and the Indians were involved. He doesn't have any idea what happened in the War of 1812. He can't tell World War I from World War II, from World War III to World War XVI. We understand that. So what we're hearing is just about the racism. Let's get that clear. Let's get that clear. What he's advocating is just for the racism, because he's already ceded. He don't give a damn about the military. If he did, he wouldn't have dragged them tanks and them planes out there for that sad sack birthday party. How long before Trump tries to cancel Juneteenth? Oh, these would be good. As soon as he realizes it exists. That is the correct answer. I was going to say, I'm sure the only reason it's still possible is because no one's told him yet. Give it until the middle of this month and we'll see. First, he'd have to find teenth on the calendar. That's pretty good. As soon as Stephen Miller tells him to, Alabama is one Senate vote away this week from making it an official state holiday. If it fades away at the last minute, you could bet something's coming down. He'll probably rename it Patriots Day. Then we got Trumpteenth. If there was a Trumpteenth, then we would get off for a month. Yeah, just no work, no work. We just golf. We just golf for the rest of June into July. That would be Trumpteenth. But because no terrible idea or misguided Trump ideology happens in a vacuum, corporate sponsors pull support for Juneteenth celebrations, canceled federal grants, and businesses moving away from so-called brand activism have hit the bottom line of events marking the end of slavery in the U.S. Juneteenth celebrations have been scaled back this year due to funding shortfalls as companies and municipalities across the country reconsider their support for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Yes, companies and municipalities reconsider their support for equity and inclusion. Canceled federal grants and businesses moving away from so-called brand activism have hit the bottom line of parades and other events headed into Thursday's federal holiday, which celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. The shrinking financial support coincides with many companies severing ties with LGBTQ celebrations for Pride this year and President Donald Trump's efforts to squash DEI programs throughout the federal government. In Denver, for example, more than a dozen companies backed out of supporting the Juneteenth Music Festival, which is one of the city's biggest celebrations of the holiday, according to Norman Harris, executive director of JMF Corporation, which puts on the event. There are quite a few sponsors who pulled back their investment or let us know they wouldn't or couldn't be in a position to support this year, said Harris, who's overseen the event for more than a decade. The festival, which takes place in the historically black Five Points neighborhood, has been scaled back to 1 day instead of 2 because of the budget shortfall. It has only been able to stay afloat thanks to donations from individuals and foundations. Thankfully, there was a wide range of support that came when we made the announcement the celebration was in jeopardy. Many state and local governments hold or help fund celebrations, but some decided not to this year. The governor's office in West Virginia stated the state won't be hosting any Juneteenth events this year for the first time since 2017 due to a budget deficit. Republican Governor Patrick Morrisey last month signed a bill to end all diversity programs. Well, if you sign it to end all diversity programs, then stay in no business. I don't want to hear nothing about no budget deficit when you're exploding the national debt and signed up to cut off your nose to spite your face and dimming all the farmers. In fact, ain't West Virginia where all the federal workers got hit? I already did a FAFO video all about y'all in West Virginia. You want to talk about a budget shortfall where you vote alongside a man that devastated your state, but you don't already sign to eliminate all diversities initiatives. Y'all just, you know what I mean? Who be advising these people? You know, we know you cut all the diversity initiatives. I don't know why. I hope you're proud, West Virginia. Well done. They should get this earlier than normal because they ain't working. City council members in Scottsdale, Arizona dissolved their DEI office in February, which led to the cancellation of the city's annual Juneteenth festival. Event organizers in Colorado Springs, Colorado had to move locations due to fewer sponsors and cuts in city funding, said Jennifer Smith, a planner for the Southern Colorado Juneteenth Festival. Around 5 companies sponsored the event this year compared to dozens in years prior. They have said their budgets have been cut because of DEI. Some groups have also mentioned safety concerns. Planners in Bend, Oregon cited an increasingly volatile political climate in a statement about why they canceled this year's celebration. Now, one of the things that I have had an opportunity to touch on, and I will continue, is the fate that has befallen specifically private corporations that chose to go this route. Jamal Bryant ain't out here preaching on CNN for nothing. So, to all of the former sponsors and the jurisdictions that decided not to stand on business, we have receipts. We will keep all of this in mind. And speaking of receipts, I would like to go back to all of the hard right-wingers, you know, the Charlie Kirks and the Scott Walkers that talked about celebrating history. You know, why wouldn't you celebrate the emancipation of the slaves and center us in your Juneteenth celebrations? Well, there's a bit of a contradiction with these forts that are being renamed for these Confederate generals. So we wouldn't have a celebration for a day where we overcame the people that fought our federal government, now would we? That would be as crazy as putting their names on the forts in the first place. Y'all can't decide whether or not you want to make Juneteenth about yourselves or whether you want to do away with it entirely. All that you can agree on is it triggers you in a deep, profound, and long-lasting way to know that Black Americans have anything to celebrate themselves and to feel good about. And that is why we are celebrating you today. Congratulations, you are our Racist of the Week. And yes, we're gonna have a good time on Juneteenth. As for July 4th, if you would like to hire some of the Juneteenth celebrants to come to your July 4th, it's gonna cost you. Yeah, go on Craigslist. Y'all know Craigslist. It's the same place you put up the seat fillers for that Trump parade. Don't act like y'all don't know. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thanks so much for watching the video. Yes, that's right. Your boy is back from vacation, feeling refreshed and ready to go.
Somebody get on this plane or not?
Yes, we do.
All right. So everyone's gonna shut up, and we're gonna say this once, and we're only gonna say it again because we're frustrated as hell.
And that definitely means you should be on the lookout for some new Way of Waters content. So make sure you check that out and subscribe to my second channel at Way of Waters. But while I was gone, y'all definitely held me down, and I appreciate that. I've mentioned before that I premiere all my videos, but did you know it actually gives me a ranking of who's doing the most work in the chat? They done messed around and passed Miss Ray. Shout out to All Things Go. I see Nick Adams, Non-Point in here, Patricia Jackson, Yolanda Gibson, Carney, my man Dank, I know Regina, I'm Just Jay, Roberta, and Alice in Kenzo Land. I see Honey Love, Jamal, Kat, Quentin, Tammy, Katrine, and Muriel rounding out the top 20.
Never could have made it without you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors.
Make sure you be on the lookout for notifications when I schedule my video releases and my premieres so you can rise up that leaderboard. And while we're on the topic of support, I gotta show some love to the Mod Squad. No, not that Mod Squad. I'm talking about our Mod Squad. That is Mariana, Dank, Deshauna, Roberta, Free Me, Larry, Chernobyl, and of course, Miss Ray, who have made this channel a place where so many people feel comfortable being themselves, expressing, sharing, growing, and learning together. And I, for one, am eternally grateful to all of you for your contribution.